Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May the peace, mercy and blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of Almighty God be on all of you. Today I am coming with the view of Dr. Keith Moore after went through some verses of the Quran and Sahih Hadith. There were a groups of students from Arabs. They collected the data information from the Quran as well as the Hadith, and they followed the verse of the Quran from Surah Nahl chapter number 16 verse number 43 as well as in Surah Anbiya chapter number 21 verse number 7, that Fas'alu ahla zikri in kuntum la ta'lamun. If you don't know, if you are in doubt, then ask the person who is knowledgeable. So they collected the data information from the Quran as well as from the Hadith that they could find, and they translated it into English, and then they presented it to Professor Keith Moore. And Professor Keith Moore at that time, in the late 70s, he was one of the highest authorities in the field of embryology, and he was the professor and the head of the department of anatomy in the University of Toronto in Canada. After going through the verses of the Quran and Hadith, he said that most of the verses of the glorious Quran speaks about embryology are in perfect conformity with the latest advances of embryology. But there are a couple of verses which I cannot say that they are right, neither can I say that they are wrong, because I myself don't know about it. And such two verses were the first two verses of the Quran to be revealed of Surah Iqra, Surah Alaq chapter number 96 verse number 1 and 2, that Iqra bismi rabbikal ladzi khalaq, khalaqal insana min alaq. Read, recite and proclaim in the name of thy Lord, in the name of thy Lord who has created the human being from something which clings and least like some substance. So the Professor Keith Moore said that I do not know whether the embryology, it's the study of the developing of the human being in the womb of the mother, for those who don't know. So the Professor Keith Moore said that I do not know whether the initial stages of the human being, that is the initial stages of the embryo, looks like a leech or not. So he went in his laboratory and under a very powerful microscope he observed, and he compared it with the photography of leech, and he was astonished after finding the striking resemblance of the initial stages of the human being, initial stages of the embryo with the photography of leech. And then whatever additional information he got from the Quran and from the Sahih Hadith, he included it into his book The Developing Human. And The Developing Human is one of the book referred in most part of the world in the first year of medical college MBBS. And whatever information he got, additional information, he incorporated into the third edition of his book The Developing Human. And later on that book got the reward for the best medical book written by a single author, and this book was translated into the most of the languages of the world in that year. And Professor Keith Moore said that the information in the Quran regarding embryology cannot come from human sources, it has to be from Almighty God. And he said that he has got no objection in agreeing that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was the messenger of this God. Imagine Professor Keith Moore, being a Christian, said that.